Hi everyone, my name's Damaris. Welcome to Advanced Facebook Strategies during COVID with DNA and Jason Fishman. We're so excited to have you here. Jason is a growth marketing expert. He is the man to go to with over 10 years of experience leading marketing agencies, ad networks, and in-house brand marketing teams. He has experience with digital channels such as Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it, across tons of different verticals. So we're really excited to share with you our Facebook advertising strategies because we've seen many clients wavering, unsure if they should slash their marketing budgets during this time, but we have experienced a lot of clients seeing success by doubling down and continuing to advertising and deepen their connection with their customers during this unprecedented time. And Jason is really excited to lean in and give you some of those strategies. So thanks, Jason, for being here. I'll give it to you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that warm welcome there, Damaris. Excited to be talking about Facebook advertising. It is one of my favorite topics, and because it is so closely tied to performance. If a client comes to us and says, hey, here's my marketing budget, it's limited, whatever happens from here basically has to produce the next spend for me. And working with startup to mid-stage brands, as Damaris mentioned in my is a for us. Fundraising, being able to get equity crowdfunding and take one budget, hit a 5x, 10x, up to, as discussed, 30x return on advertising spend is something we do regularly. I'm going to go in depth about that here with you today, talk about what you need in terms of foundation to produce these type of results, set up to scale type algorithms, along with advanced optimization strategies and approaches to build a retargeting pool, which we will highlight in depth here. And let me pull up our deck so we can get directly into it. As Damaris mentioned, I have a background in advertising. Worked at a mobile advertising network where we would service top 100 advertisers, a lot of business with the studios here in Los Angeles for theatrical and home entertainment releases, everything from e-commerce to aviation and other types of travel industries. The biggest brands, even if I didn't run a campaign with them, I was certainly speaking with them either at the client direct or agency level. So comfortable working across a whole spectrum of different budget levels, timelines, KPIs, key performance indicators. So that's where our wealth of knowledge around media buying comes from. We really look to hit the top level of performance for campaigns, and beyond servicing startup to mid-stage brands, that's what's in the background. That's where the knowledge comes from me. And as you can see here on our cover page, advanced Facebook advertising strategies during COVID-19, the month of May saw more e-commerce sales than Black Friday, holiday months in past years. Digital traffic's up. A lot of our clients are asking us, is it a good time to advertise? And I could tell you the pros and cons for any point with activating a live marketing campaign, particularly if you're in it for the long run, if you're approaching month-over-month growth, month-over-month revenue numbers, user numbers that you need to hit. It's not about will advertising work for you, it's a matter of how to get it to work for you. So when we talk about obstacles such as the changing marketplace, it's something we're very comfortable in terms of operating. Working with startups, there's always different obstacles, always different factors. I define good marketing as good problem solving. So for us, this is just another set of factors similar to what we'd face on a weekly level. And DNA, why this all matters in terms of our webinar display showcase here today is we've worked with over 350 brands, over 100 of which have been funding campaigns, fundraising. As mentioned myself, I have over 10 years of experience working with brands on all sides of the spectrum. Our equity crowdfunding campaigns have done over 9 figures of funding, part of the Forbes Agency Council. My podcast, Test, Optimize, Scale, which is my overall philosophy towards marketing, is now surpassing episode 8, and overall doing a lot more of these digital broadcasts in terms of thought leadership here in 2020, as conferences have now become digital. Before that, I was flying around to conferences like this, spoken in over 8 countries. We understand advertising and applying it to the quarantine landscape. As you could see here on this page, there's a lot of advantages. There's a lot of opportunity. I was actually researching the Spanish flu 1918 through 1920 and saw the period of economic growth to follow, well before the stock market crash in 1929, but the roaring 20s, there was a huge emergence, a lot more for everyone. And you have an opportunity right now to turn out as a leader in these next years to come. So when I talk opportunity, the quarantine landscape has more people online. Audiences are engaging with video at new levels. So if we're talking social advertising, leveraging video formats, if we're talking webinars, all different stages of your funnel, people are embracing video. I have family members that would never log into the internet on their phone, or anything involving their desktop or laptop in terms of video streaming before. Everyone is online. They're open to engaging with you online. There are different types of business to consumer, business to business formats where you can engage directly in video, bring ad traffic. You can now determine how many of those video engagements you want to have. Video is a huge key for our clients at the moment, and some of the case studies I'll get into with you shortly. Users get something from shopping on a chemical level. Buying feels good. They're at home, being able to hop on Amazon, being able to go on your website, being able to go into some type of B2B educational forum is a big deal and add something to their day. Don't worry about what can be weighing on them in a negative fashion. Look at the positivity that your ads, your marketing, your opportunity, the value your product provides is giving them. Budgets are coming back, as you can see here in number 4. Government support, economic confidence. There are more things in the horizon from what I understand. Budgets have moved from Facebook advertising with some of our clients with Facebook ad boycotts. There are new areas for spending all over, whether we're talking about on the brand level or personal shopping. Social sharing is for many the theme of self-isolating. Memes, anything you could picture viewing on social and having that urge to share with your family, with your friends. You're not the only one doing that. It's happening at a larger level than ever. Number 6, everyone's reevaluating their lives and creating new paths, which typically require new purchases. So whether that's that new yoga set, or you got a digital personal trainer, and you're getting a new weight system, video drone, or whatever it may be, there are purchases to go along with that. Some of the outdoor retailers we work with are saying bikes that are $500, $500 are flying off the shelf as if they're $100 jackets. The hobby and enthusiast type dollar is out there. Number 7, small business seeking is becoming popular. I am, a guilty candidate of this myself, looking at small businesses that I want to support here in Venice, here in Marina del Rey, here in Los Angeles as a whole. Restaurants have been very creative during these times, particularly bouncing back and forth between at home or in restaurant dining, outdoor dining, what have you. So people are seeking out these type of groups. Responses to new smart offerings are high. Some of those restaurants I mentioned have a prefix menu at a fraction of the cost that they would normally be at, yet some of them in specific are Michelin star restaurants, and that smart offering attracts their customer base to spend with them regularly, where the marketing conditions may have it in a different fashion for them. Same's true for many of the e-commerce sites I visit. Same's true for a list of our clients. And overall, the reset button has been hit, and companies of all sizes are now fighting for their place in the new market. The large groups are doing whatever they can to hold on to their market share, their relevance, keep their revenue up to support all their operations. The smaller brands are being frequented at different levels, and therefore have a huge chance in front of them to position themselves higher. And we are in the wild, wild west in many senses. And the overall uncertainty, a lack of dependence on historical routes, and utility of creativity is present like never before. Business models, B2B outreach, B2C channels, and overall messaging strategies need to be tested, optimized, and scaled. And you want to be able to look at those analytics to tell the story and determine what to do next. It's not a matter of just putting things in autopilot. The times have changed, and groups of all sizes are changing up their advertising strategies as a result. Now, when I think of an advertising strategy, when I think of an inquiry I get where someone says, we need performance tomorrow, and my head's already going to ads, when they're asking us to improve their current I have to emphasize that it all starts with a plan. You fail to plan, you plan to fail. Do not skip this step. Do not launch an advertising dollar without understanding exactly what it is out to produce. Here is a model that I've built called the 8-point digital plan. I've written about this in Forbes. I've been quoted about it all over the internet, run all types of workshops at live conferences, digital conferences with accelerators about this exact system. It starts research heavy with sections 1 and 2, the industry analysis and competitor marketing audit, which are all based on real-time data. I don't want to know, what was looked at in past years or what was in the plan for this year in January. Need to look at what's occurring here in what it is for us, July 2020, about to be August, across all the industry numbers. Have our fingers on the pulse of what's occurring. And then hone into the competitors. And I want to know exactly what they're doing for their advertising, for their marketing at that. What channels they're using, the frequency of organic content, the influencers, the publishers, what's going on in their email funnels. All of that needs to be studied, again, for July, before I can build a July plan, an August plan. And we have different tools to look at how much these groups are spending on their advertising, which ad creative is currently live, which sets of targeting they're using, whether that's keywords or audiences. I want to look at their landing pages, the funnels, the offerings there. I want to stand on their shoulders of success to use that as inspiration and build a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, but really focus on what's working for them before I can build out what my clients are going to be launching for their own advertising. With that, I can now avoid shooting in the dark and build the framework in sections 3, sections 4, and 5. Marketing channels, both paid and organic, the touch points of those target audiences that we build out in section 3, which we break down to the persona level, the creative that's going to run in each of those channels. We move on to section 6 and look at different types of tagging we could do, look at types of endorsements we could leverage, or look at different types of audience data that can be uploaded, which we will speak about in depth shortly here. For the strategic partnerships, we want to build out the full roadmap of what's going to occur in terms of your advertising campaign across each channel from a prospecting perspective, from a retargeting lens. We want to have all mapped out before getting into section 7, which is budget allocations, algorithmic projections of each channel. The only way to measure anything is with numbers. I want to see by impressions, clicks, and conversions. Those 3 stages of an algorithm and associated metrics for what we're anticipating on each channel. If a campaign's working well, I can see where it's overproducing, look to replicate that in different fashions, and most importantly, scale it. If it's not working, do we write off Facebook ads? Do we write off programmatic? No. I want to understand at what point we're doing well and where it's dropping off in that algorithm. Is it the impressions? Are we paying too much for that reach? Is it the clicks? Is it a lack of engagement around the creative? Do we need to do something around audiences to get stronger click metrics, click-through rate, cost per click, what have you? We need to see stronger traffic occurred from the ads. What's happening at this point? Or is it around the conversions? Do we want to A/B test different landing pages? Do we want to have a higher funnel conversion before taking them to deeper steps, but getting a higher conversion rate as a whole? All of that occurs based on this algorithm that's built. It is all 100% necessary, let alone a best practice and stronger idea for a successful advertising campaign. Do not skip this step. Next, as we are moving past the strategy, which should map out these marketing models and milestones, having understanding of your average order value, your acquisition costs as a result, and projected return on ad spend, your customer lifetime value, which you do not want to skip. You do not want to avoid and say, hey, I just want to understand what I'm paying for the user on the first touch. It's a game of chess, not a game of checkers. It's not about just flipping traffic and getting the average order value to produce your return. You want to have an understanding of what they're going to produce on an ongoing basis, as it may allow you to scale quicker. So be intelligent on how this is all being modeled out. As I talked about, industry and SWOT analysis, customer lifetime value models, acquisition costs, and scaling model, all important to establish before you launch your ad campaign. I then like to jump into content marketing funnel here. Again, we're not into ads yet, but you need to build something that's going to allow the ad traffic to perform at a stronger level. So if you have a funnel set up, perhaps beginning with a landing page, directing through social channels, maybe they sign up for an email automation sequence from there, and then points at different types of long form content, thought leadership that you're doing, the likelihood your audience is going to convert goes up and up and up and up. The value that you're going to receive media buy, again, as a best practice, goes up and up and up and up. So what is content marketing? It's the development of good, engaging content that's designed for social shares and high authority links. That's the whole purpose of it. So we want to get that advocacy, we want to get that peer-to-peer marketing up. You could leverage all of the channels that you see here as applicable to the target audience personas that you built in your strategy. Competitor audit shows this. The audience demographic research is going to lay it out perfectly for you. But you want to build a publisher, influencer, and strategic partner map. You want to have a content strategy that lives in a content calendar and is present across the user journey, as it's going to create a stronger conversion rate for each step of that quest that your audience is going through. You want to distribute across social channels, because if you're talking about how great your brand is, it's cool. But if you have other parties talking about how amazing you are, it's even cooler. So that is what the content marketing funnel has to do with advertising. Manage your responses, manage your communications, boost content for further views. It'll give you the ammo you need to then create that organic post into a paid advertising, a paid traffic, a paid conversion type of activation. You could test it on this organic funnel here. Also, it's good to have that response matrix ready to go. So if you get a high volume of comments on your paid ads on a social platform, you are ready to go and know how to look at a diplomatic debate with your audiences in tougher situations where the third party aligns with you versus just removing these type of comments. All very important things, all aspects of my team's day-to-day operations. As we start getting into the media buying sections at this point, I want to break down how I look at advertising, starting with branding versus direct response. Branding, more of the upper funnel, awareness type campaigns, which give you a huge pool of users to then track on either a longer term sales cycle, or perhaps purchases at more of a micro level. But again, you're pointing at that lifetime value versus an individual transaction with a branding campaign, and looking at focus groups, looking at overall revenue numbers over a longer period of time to validate how the marketing's working, and making sure the tracking is all set up appropriately at that. Then you have direct response, where you're looking for a quicker sales cycle. You're looking to measure the cost per acquisition, the return on ad spend for your media buys. We're going to talk about how to measure that, starting at the campaign, getting into the ad set or ad group level, looking at the audiences, looking at the creatives, looking at pockets of performance to scale. And either of those, you want to be present to what you're doing in terms of prospecting and retargeting. When I was first introduced to advertising in exchanges to source additional inventory as an advertising network, and later to sell inventory during any undersell or oversell month, I was told, when you're working on the demand side, the advertiser side, it's all in the retargeting. That is where you're going to see the performance. There's some truth to that for every type of advertiser. So as we are looking at advertising, it first has to begin with this conversation with what percentage of your media buy is set up for prospecting, for bringing audiences to your offering for the first time, and what allocation is going towards retargeting, which is bringing users back and back and back and back and back. And 7 to 17 touch points. It's how we frame the conversation. It's how we paint the picture for clients in terms of how many touch points are going to be required for a conversion. It is not like we're going to take an investor to a private equity offering and watch them turn into an investment like that, at least in a consistent, scalable fashion. It's just not going to occur on the first touch point. However, if we're set up, we're strong retargeting, we have different creative, running to those audiences and creating a more personalized experience for that traffic, we're going to see a stronger level of performance, hands down. So this is where we begin our advertising discussion, prospecting versus retargeting. Next, we want to talk, Facebook ads. Got to start with search. Got to start with other channels. So with search advertising, you're able to reach users with a transactional mindset. Transactional mindset is how it's historically been described, meaning you can reach audiences who are looking for something very specific, something that would define them as mid-funnel to low funnel in your user journey. And you could win these top placements on a search platform. You could look at how that traffic's performing on your landing pages and really gauge what that response level is before you start introducing social advertising, which is predictive in nature. Search, it is direct. Hey, I'm looking for this specific thing. Give me a landing page that has to do with my mindset. Social, we're using targeting filters that allow us to present things to users that they don't know they need at that moment. There's other types of data that will make it more similar to a search buy, but I recommend starting here in many cases, if not at least considering it in all cases. It allows you to optimize keywords, ads, audiences, get analysis of that landing page, do the conversion ROI tracking before moving it to prospecting channels that are going to require a larger reach to hit the same amount of traffic and therefore a similar amount of conversions. Next, I like to take those keywords over and apply them to a contextually targeted programmatic buy. What does that mean? I want to run a display advertising banner next to articles in apps, next to pieces of content that are around specific keywords and are removed by various negative keywords. It allows me to mimic the performance that I'm prospecting with on search channels, yet leveraging on a programmatic advertising platform. Going back to the page here, the programmatic advertising platform is, which I could speak about at length, a demand and supply side a supply side platform. It connects publishers and advertisers. All the unsold advertising inventory from publishers, which is the majority of the advertising placements, by the way, is then sold at remnant rates, at highly discounted rates for an advertising exchange buy. So instead of paying $50, $100 type CPMs with some premium publishers, you may be able to win those advertising placements. At a much lower spend level. You may be able to win those advertising placements at $1, $2 type CPMs, cost per 1,000 impressions for any new buyers on here, buying it at a wholesale. You're able to run it alongside articles featuring keywords. You can reach audiences everywhere if they go online, over 99% of the web, mobile apps. You can access the advertising inventory on these type of exchanges while buying at a wholesale rate. You're able to leverage AI, machine learning technologies that optimize every millisecond across millions of lines of audience data. I could probably tell you 50 audience targeting filters off the top of my head. The AI is looking at millions and finding those individual segments. This city at this day and time from these users with this household income who have just purchased this in the past 7 days is not uncommon to see for a programmatic media buy. You're often casting a wide net and then letting the AI do its thing to, again, go at those individual pockets of performance that can be scaled. We use whitelists where we can look at tier 1 type sites where we see consistent performance. This may include sites that have nothing to do with your brand, such as weather.com or other types of places people visit on a daily basis. And you reach them at a point where they're kind of just searching. They're kind of just going through their daily routine. You can access email advertising inventory and have your ads shown around email boxes. You can look into all different types of advertising units, see what's working best for you, look to scale. You could upload audiences, email lists, IP address lists. You could start working with third-party data vendors, all types of different tactics which you will be able to take to your social advertising campaign. You can do nothing more than retarget here if you want and spend very little, as you'll be limited to your audience for any event tag, for any page that sites your audience is visiting on your site. You can look to prospect here. Pretty endless, in my opinion, what could be done in terms of programmatic, and you have access to billions of advertising impressions a day. So understanding what's going on there, getting to native advertising and some of the other ad units that appear here. Native's great for prospecting. Oftentimes a 20-cent cost per click, 30-cent cost per click allows you to use your prospecting filters, bring the right traffic there. You can then retarget with display advertising units. You want to have an understanding of how your audience is performing across the board, across other channels, before you get to very advanced Facebook advertising strategies. You can have, again, somewhat of an endless reach once your Facebook advertising hits a plateau and you're starting to double spend on conversions. So that's why I recommend this so highly. Influencer marketing. You could use influencers to show that third-party validation. People generally don't trust what they see online. So if they're being introduced to it from an influencer, they're giving their endorsement on your brand and everything it is that you do. It goes a long way. There are influencer advertising platforms, even ones these days that allow for Facebook advertising buys to be attached to influencer pages, essentially giving you the ability to run Facebook ads from influencer pages. Here are some metrics of campaigns that we've run where we're looking at minuscule CPMs in comparison to Facebook advertising as a whole, in comparison to other types of programmatic or publisher direct media buys. The cost per clicks, the cost per engagement, cost per new follower, cost per sale, and overall return on ad spend can be very high on these. And we look at Facebook ads as an ability to syndicate what you're doing on the influencer channels. Sometimes this requires an additional agreement with the influencer. Other times it's already set in their contract, but you can use it for syndication within the walled gardens of Facebook, Instagram, or other social types of ad buying that you're doing. This is social proof. All of that to get us to social advertising. And I look at Facebook advertising as not only a focal point of digital marketing, digital advertising, but marketing as a whole. It is mind control in my eyes, as it's been used for government elections to all types of social movements. People are logging in here daily. Again, during COVID here, over 5 hours a day are being seen by many users as average daily mobile time across all apps, and Facebook and Instagram being the most used. This is a place that you want to focus. Yes, there's different boycotts that have occurred. That's because of the power of these platforms and the regulation that they want to put in. Meanwhile, there are other types of advertisers that are B2B, what we do looking at towards investors, where this isn't fully affecting. In fact, we're able to get better performance because CPMs are lower. But as a result, this platform, you can reach users who don't know they need you and get them into your funnel and retarget them to the point of conversion in a systematic, replicatable fashion. So market testing, optimizations, and expansions are systematic here. You can draft A/B tests of audiences, leveraging data. Talk about that a bit further. You can market test those at fairly low budgets or much larger increments of traffic, much larger increments of individuals in a quick basis, have them there tomorrow with all approvals hitting average time windows, durations with Facebook. Direct response ad messaging can work here even for branding initiatives where you're looking to audience build perhaps, identifying the top channels and placements, optimizing of targeting, ads and landing pages. That done in a fairly systematic format for social ads here. Analysis of post-landing page funnel, conversion cost, return on ad tracking spending, and scale. You'll hear me use this word more and more in these webinars. If you haven't been tuning into the past ones, it's my favorite word. And scaling performing segments to hit milestones is I don't want to say routine thing here, but we're going to go into an algorithm that allows you to do this again and again and again. As you can see in the placement, it's smack in the middle of your audience's news feed, where we would be looking at a 0.1% based on IAB standards for display advertising click-through rate. Facebook says 1% is an average click-through rate. Our campaigns hit 2 to 5% type campaigns more times than not. And you have the ability to test at a low level, as I mentioned. That doesn't mean if you have a large budget to be turned off by that statement. That means you can run a high volume of campaigns. The 2016 presidential election campaign had about $90 million in ad spend, hundreds of thousands of ad sets, hundreds of thousands. That means you could customize the audiences with various different types of ad creative and identify which ones are performing best, one have conclusive numbers, or conclusive as, you know, it's not your traditional sample size for a focus group, but enough to understand, hey, we've had 1,000 clicks here. We have an idea of how this one's working based on the trends we're seeing on these other types of targeting. I often get asked, what am I going to run for creative to create multiple ad units? We have a list of ads. Why do we need to do more than that? And the answer is customization. You want to create that personalized experience. So here are some examples of what we recommend for Facebook posts as a whole, which we can then repurpose into advertisements. As I mentioned, over 1 billion active users monthly. Their daily numbers keep creeping up as well too, which means your target audiences are available here for B2B, B2C, investor outreach. Organic strategies can really grow here based on the edge algorithm that Facebook owns. Going back to the competitor research, looking at all of these different components, looking at content themes, these can be translated directly to ads as well too, with aggregated articles, looking at a longer funnel, user-generated content, as long as you're following all compliancy goals. So ads, shout out swaps, product ads, lifestyle ads, inspirational ads, current type ads, and things that people would be seeing in other aspects of their news feed. Again, their coworkers, that their peers, as native as possible to them for that experience. Memes are becoming more popular for advertising creative for our team. Scheduled video series, going back to the video, comedic infographic stats, quotes, event coverage, anything you do to pull them in to your funnel, to your landing page, and let your assets do the work from there. The ad is to pull them in with the right narrative. We've seen brands look to use their team in the ads at this point and really broadcast that culture. Trending hashtag conversations, team member acknowledgements, case studies. Numbers aren't the way to measure anything. Let's figure out different ways to put that for B2B or to get investors' attentions, promotional offerings, all of that. We could even day part and have different creative for different times of day, for different geo-targeting. All of that is possible. So do not think you have to be stuck to your evergreen advertisements on social. It is the easiest place to be able to take a list of different groups, get enough traffic, and determine what is working best from there. Now, we run a lot of investor acquisition campaigns, and our secret sauce has been the development of our own first-party data for investor targeting. As a whole, I would play around with the idea for you unique sets of data targeting in comparison to your competitors. Data management is key to audience targeting. You can look at uploading your email list, IP addresses. You can match LinkedIn and other types of audiences with data partners to get email addresses to then upload for advertising targeting on Facebook. You could seek out various types of data. I do a lot of this on the phone where I'm calling types of finance, types of equity crowdfunding platforms as applicable with their data terms. Look to have custom audiences shared with our business manager for the purpose of advertising targeting. We don't take any ownership of that data. We can't see any names or contact info. We just have the audiences to target. So my recommendation here is to be creative in terms of how you can reach the exact individuals who fit into your targets and can allow you to hit your milestones. You can be precise with who you're reaching on Facebook ads in a similar fashion to what is possible with LinkedIn direct outreach, Google search type advertisements. There are ways to reach the precise individuals. So explore this further and be compliant, follow all the rules while you're doing so. Next, here is an example of a social advertising algorithm. I want to paint the picture here in terms of what is possible. So 1 million impressions, 10K starting budget reflects a $10 average CPM. I understand $20 could be looked at as more of a typical number. I could explain to you offline on how you could average out $5 CPM, $7 CPM type social buys with your $20 CPMs, with maybe your $30 to $40 retargeting CPMs, and have everything come together at a $10 level. And this is just an example, by the way, to hit 1 million impressions with a 10K budget. Maybe this is for a set audience, maybe this is your whole campaign, maybe this is your campaign over a few months, whatever it may be. Maybe this is your campaign for one audience for one day. There's a lot of different ways to look at this, but 1 million impressions, 10K budget, 10,000 clicks at that 1% click-through rate. With 10,000 clicks, that reflects a $1 cost per click, $1 per visitor. 200 conversions would be what you could anticipate based on a 2% average conversion rate. Google says 2.35% is an average conversion rate. We'll often get 10% conversion rates at the add to cart, at the initiate checkout, at different stages of the funnel. This encompasses it into a 2% average conversion rate, which is a $50 CPA and a cost per acquisition, and a $200, and just throwing in a number of a $200 average order value. That's a 4x return on ad spend. If we're looking at a lifetime value of 4 orders over 2 years, getting up to $800, now you're looking at a 16x lifetime value. We'll call it 8 for a lifetime value return on ad spend, just to be modest. And these numbers are conservative as a whole. When we're running these type of campaigns, 2 to 5% click-through rates, 3 to 5% conversion rates, completely not uncommon. Just from going from a 1% to a 2% average click-through rate in this exercise would put you at an 8x immediate return on ad spend, not even looking at the LTV numbers quite yet. So it all can fluctuate, but this is how you should be gauging it and being able to create optimizations that are going to allow for stronger levels of performance at each stage of the algorithm. It all comes down to the numbers. I see these numbers in my sleep. When I'm talking to clients on a conference call, I am pertaining it to every stage of this algorithm and nothing else, because I know at the end of the day, that's how they're going to grade me, based on the lifetime value, based on the return on ad spend for immediate conversions. That is what the game is. And when looking at that, the whole goal is to be able to provide clients with the opportunity to scale. Not just because we're a marketing agency and we want to manage more media, but because it allows for scale results. So if we're getting purchases at that $50 level and they're getting 4x, 8x, we'll call it 8x return on ad spend, they're going to come to me and say, Jason, how much of this can I buy? I don't want to get 200 conversions this next day, week, month. I want to get 400. I really want to get 4,000. How do we get up to higher levels? It has to be done responsibly. Otherwise, you could spook the algorithm as a whole. And here is how we set it up. I'm giving you the whole formula here. Setting up to scale. Start with 4 to 10 audience sets. These are different types of audiences that you want to target. Just retargeting and lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences, by the way, Facebook doesn't even tell us how they get them. They just say the 1% of the country that you're targeting that's most like the audience you're modeling after, most like the audience that's already purchasing or signing up or whatever it may look like, installing. So starting with 4 to 10 audiences, you already have 2 from a retargeting and a lookalike. You could retarget off multiple events. You could lookalikes off multiple events. You could go much higher than this, but I like being very, very aligned with what's occurring on each ad set. So going beyond 4 to 10 to begin, you may overwhelm what you're doing, regardless of how much budget you're putting behind each. So I begin with 4 to 10, some of them a wider net, again, allowing me to see where I'm getting performance. Others I put in between a 15 and 75,000 person targeting group. More mid-level audiences, meaning larger, a few 100,000, 500,000 to about 1.5 million, 2.5 million are looked at as large audiences. Anything over 2.5 million, you really have to be spending a lot to even get 1% of your audience. And therefore, you'd be working off inconclusive data until you get to much higher brackets. So I'd rather look at these amounts, see where we're getting the performance, and then make choices from there. As you can see in number 2, A/B test 2 to 6 creatives for each audience set. Don't just set up 10 audiences and say we have 1 ad for each or 2 ads for each. Set up 2 to 6 creatives. Even if that's all you have, start to customize them for each audience so it creates more of that personalized experience. You could talk about the geo-target they're in. You could talk about their behavioral filters. You could talk about anything that's going to allow them to think you're speaking to them directly. I live here in Los Angeles. If they say, hey, look at what Angelinos are doing. If they talk about anything specific to where I go, I snowboard in Mammoth a lot. Hey, look at what Mammoth enthusiasts are looking at for their next set of travel. It gets my attention. It makes it feel like it's designed for me. It has value for me as a consumer. Same thing's true with all of the marketing companies that contact me from a B2B standpoint. Show them that you know them with the advertising creative, and set up 2 to 6 customized creatives for each audience. Run that for 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks per segment at a minimum. Many people would say this is not conclusive data. Again, you want to be able to identify the trends at that point. analyze the impressions, the clicks, the conversion metrics, along with the retargeting pool. I know advertising vendors that won't touch a campaign unless there's 50,000 uniques in a retargeting pool in a given month, which means if you don't have enough people coming through your page, you're setting yourself up for failure in terms of an advertising launch. You're at a high risk stage, to put eloquently, and report on what you're seeing for this. Reporting for us as an agency is to the client. You can report to your partner, to your boss, to your investors, to your team underneath you, to whoever it may be. Find a consultant, find a marketing friend, someone who enjoys talking marketing, and talk about these metrics with them. You'll get something for yourself out of grouping the data together over a 7-day period. I like weekly reports because I could show the ups and downs on top of monthly, quarterly, annual reports. I may look at it daily and make the optimizations, but I really want to make the assessments on a weekly basis. Present this, you will get the feedback you need and have a clear understanding of what you're doing in the process. Next, optimize each creative. Make that personalized messaging resonate at a stronger level. Do whatever you can do to get stronger performance from each of these creatives, then run for an additional 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks per segment. At that point, you can begin reallocating spends at the creative level towards top performers based on analytics. You always want to be testing out new creatives. You want to start looking at what's evergreen and going to be running on a continuing basis. Historical performers, top drivers, if you will. But at that point, you could start phasing out creatives. From there, run for an additional 3 to 7 days or 1,000 clicks per creative. You can begin your audience optimizations at that point. I wouldn't do that before that point. Otherwise, you could be shutting something off before it's really working, before it's really delivering for you, you're killing it. Now, at the audience level, things become fun. You can look at the top prospecting audiences and give them more budget. You can start measuring your retargeting pool, how much you're spending towards retargeting, and increase that, as you may be seeing the best CPA there. As I was told, it's all in the retargeting. You should take that with you as well too, and begin really making stronger changes at the audience level. You can, I don't recommend shutting anything off yet. Run for 3 to 7 more days or 1,000 more clicks per ad set. You, at this point, can make stronger audience optimizations and or scale the budget as you see in number 11. So some people say 10 to 20%. Some people say 25 to 50% is where you should scale the budget at, depending on the initiative, but maxing somewhere on that level. We have no problem looking at 2x scales for various budget levels. I've even done this, getting to like 5K a day, moving up to 10K a day, if the advertising inventory allows for it. You don't want to be consulting with reps at that point on available inventory on different types of audience sizes. If you're trying to go from 10 to 20 and get 2x at that point, I don't see a need to go more than 2x in a safe fashion outside of that. Maybe if you're at $100 per day and you want to get to 500, moving from $3 grand a month to 15 grand a month, things like that could be done at a higher exponential level, but I would still try to pace it out, go to 200, 400, get that to 500 or 800 per day, per week, per month, whatever you're measuring this at and looking along those lines. That is what you want to be doing to scale on an ongoing basis. Additionally, you want to duplicate ad sets that are working and narrow down to the individual performers. So you could look at any ad set and measure what the CPA type metrics would be, the conversion metrics, the click metrics for gender, for geographic location, for age range, for device type. You could look at how those audiences are performing within any ad set, within any audience targeting that you're doing, regardless of how filtered it is, meaning this audience plus that audience, all filtered down. You have to meet all rules. You can still break that down. If you see, CPA at a fraction of the cost, if there's enough advertising inventory available for those audiences, create its own ad set. see if it continues performing at those levels. It's how we found ways to hit 20x, 30x type return on ad spends as we were able to scale that up. Maybe it's averaging in with other spends to hit a 10x campaign wide, but you have the ability to really identify exactly who's performing and then narrow just into that, even if it's just for one ad set of your buy. That's what social advertising allows for. As you can see in number 13, continually test new audiences, continually test new creatives while maintaining those consistent drivers. Number 14, as channels are optimized and maintained, begin optimizing towards top channels. So now you could do Facebook, you could do Instagram, you could look at secondary platforms. I know this presentation's around Facebook, but you could start optimizing Facebook spends with Google spends and programmatic spends. Maybe Google's not performing at all for you beyond $5,000 a month. And every time you try, it's just not getting anywhere. Your team wants you to spend $15,000 a month there because of how strong the CPA is. Meanwhile, you could look at moving that 10K over to Facebook and scale your performance, scale the results even further. And you're working on big budgets. Maybe it's instead of 5K, it's 500K, and you just freed up another $1 million to run towards your Facebook media spend. Maybe it's on a daily basis if you're looking at a large consumer packaged good brand. Same concepts. This is what I recommend. This is how we're doing it. This is how you could set up over time hundreds of ad sets and be optimizing at the creative level, at the audience level. You could be scaling things further and further, optimizing at the channel level. This is how it's done. Continue to scale channels every 3 to 7 days, 1,000 clicks or test period. So I know I am throwing a lot of information at you here. You can feel free to contact me direct. We could go in depth about it. I want to throw some ad tactics at you right now that work extremely well for us to begin to conclude our presentation, but this is a big value of the webinar. You want to make sure you're applying these next sections. With depth on the brand short, tuning out now, this is what it's all been leading up to. Advertising tactics. Structure each channel for prospecting and retargeting. Set the prospecting ads up with relevant types of creative. If that's around COVID-19, if that's around social injustice, if that's around political types of messaging that you're putting out, you can do that with the retargeting, then allow the, you do it with the prospecting, then allow the retargeting to really drive users towards that call to action that you're going to be measuring with your team as a KPI, as a key performance indicator. Improve performance metrics on each. You may be able to get traffic at 20 to 50 cents per click on Facebook as a traffic campaign, as a link click campaign. That may be $1, $2, $5 per click on a retargeting campaign. So bring the traffic there at a lower rate. At a conversion campaign. Bring the traffic there at a lower rate and then use the retargeting to convert, and you'll see a stronger CPA as a whole. Number 2, test Facebook lead formats for a low-cost B2B or B2C email submission to kick off your funnel and or optimization to underperforming conversion rates. $1 per completed lead form, as these are autofill. They just press one button and the name and email address is submitted, is not uncommon. Even for some of the investor audiences we go after, $3, $5, not uncommon. We'd be looking more towards a $20 to $50 lead if we're taking to, let's say, an unbounce landing page. So take audiences through the Facebook lead form, whether it's B2B or B2C. You can then take them to your landing page from there. Meanwhile, you have their email address. You can upload it to other advertising platforms. You can have an email automated drip sequence going towards them. It allows you to have a more engaged experience. Number 3, test all applicable Google products after establishing your search pipeline, including new shopping, new YouTube, and new display placements. Then retarget with the Facebook ad units. Facebook retargeting goes hand in hand with most, if not all, ad channels. So this is something that has to be mentioned in an advanced Facebook strategies presentation. Number 4, seek third-party data partners, particularly if conversion audiences become available, i.e. recent purchases, historical investors, early adopters, early buyers. As I mentioned, the biggest data partnerships, relationships are made through direct conversations. You could get access to audiences that no one else does if you're speaking to an admin directly and they allow for a custom audience sharing for your ad targeting. get the gears running there. There are always more audiences that you could access with the custom audience tool and apply ads to with offline relationships. Number 5, get in touch with Facebook, get a Facebook marketing manager, get a sales rep, depending on how much you're spending. Request access to trial new creative formats, video units, rich media, shoppable content. They're always looking for beta users of this. There's always something new to run. Over the past few months, there's been some strong tools. So don't be shy. They often want these programs to be successful, so they'll do things that allow your ads to perform at stronger levels, is an interpretation I've heard from other agencies. Number 6, explore strategies to develop large retargeting pools at low rates, such as video view retargeting, which may provide a 1 cent cost per view, even cost per completed view, depending on the length of your video content. So for $1 million, for a 1 million person retargeting pool, you may only spend 10K. Where if you were doing that with a click campaign or a campaign as a whole, averaging between clicks on a traffic campaign and clicks on a conversion campaign, you may be paying $1 per click. That's a hundredth of a difference. So, instead of 10,000 people in your retargeting pool, you have 1 million people in your retargeting pool, and continue to run ads to them after they've engaged with your video. There's a lot of ways to develop low-cost retargeting pools and take them further and further down that user journey that you've blueprinted out. Next, understand your bid power based on budget, timeline, click-through rate, conversion rate, and other metrics that will play a role in your win rate and overall performance metrics. Those who focus on this can manage it. If you can manage it, you can manage it to a point of effectiveness. And with a higher ad quality score, with a higher bid rate, bid weight, you can win ads at a lower CPM. Lowering your CPM will lower your conversion costs. It'll increase your return on ad spend. Do not be blind about your bidding power. Number 8, create themed social pages, publications, and/or brands to advertise your product from multiple narratives in compounding scale, i.e. running from top new startups versus your brand can be night and day difference. So imagine doing the video view advertising campaign. And at that point, you're getting 1 million people in a retargeting pool that your brand then retargets from the brand page. But at first, you're running from top new startups, top crowdfunding campaigns, top equity crowdfunding campaigns. Maybe it's crowdfunding moms, and you have a page just going after moms, and it feels more personalized for them. Crowdfunding dads, crowdfunding college students. Ad-lib any word you want in here. Yoga moms, yoga dads, yoga college students, yoga entrepreneurs, yoga Los Angelinos, whatever it may be. You can create, nurture, harvest an audience on these social pages, or you can just use them for advertising purposes. And unless someone clicks through to the page, they're not going to understand it's just for the advertising appearance. Because statistically, most of the audiences will look at the logo in the top corner, they'll look at the ad, the text above it, the headline underneath, and click through to the landing page from there. This could give the appearance that publishers are talking about what you are doing, and then retargeting them with your brand page campaign. This is a powerful tool. This is a way where you can get other groups, even competitors, more comfortable with sharing target audience data with you for the use of an advertising campaign. You, in theory, can create 50 pages and have ad campaigns centralized around 50 different target audiences, and use some type of satellite messaging on each, and then an anchor messaging for a larger promotion that goes out across all of the pages in advertising format. I've seen exponentially higher click-through rates and conversion rates with the use of these pages, and the same creative. So do not skip number 8. There are a lot of different things to test out, and it could slash the acquisition costs that you're currently seeing. Number 9, focus on reach, traffic, and frequency metrics to develop a replicatable user journey, which may require 7 to 17 touch points before conversion, and do not stop campaigns early. I like to reference the fact that marketing doesn't work. Facebook advertising doesn't work. It's not something where you press a button and suddenly you're getting performance. It requires marketing professionals. It requires various types of experts, data scientists, to, again, manage it to a point of effectiveness. Simply running it, looking at it the next day, regardless of the stage your brand is at, regardless of your spend, and saying, oh, this is working, that's not working, is not a healthy perspective. I've had campaigns that didn't work 3 weeks in, even ones that showed 0 conversions 3 weeks in. And by week 6, on an e-commerce initiative, looking at one men's fashion brand in specific, they were surpassing all goal projection benchmarks. So anything in terms of acquisition costs, return on ad spend, they had shined past. Discussions 3 weeks earlier during week 3, should we continue doing this? I don't think Facebook ads are for us. I don't think our audience is responding. They stuck with it. We continued retargeting while adding enough prospecting traffic into the funnel. And again, by week 6, the return was higher than they could have wished for, and continued scaling and scaling and scaling from there. We worked for about 10 months with them directly before they built an in-house Facebook advertising department because of how successful it was. If they would have shut off by week 3, they would have lost a massive, not even chunk of revenue, but portion of their business, and had a loss for their advertising spend thus far. This is the same is true with equity crowdfunding. And we had campaigns in March that were slowing down, even dropping out with conversions. And before that, they were at 5 to 10x return on ad spends. Now they're at 1x. Some of them are at 0x. There was just no conversions. They said, do we stop? It's COVID. We have no idea whether there's going to be a world next week, let alone we'll be able to see a return on ad spend. And we said, no, you want to keep going, because we looked at the other marketing channels, we looked at the other media buying opportunities, and we said, what else are you going to do? What other traffic sources are you going after? You have to hit your March numbers. You have to hit your April numbers. So what are we going to do towards those numbers? Are we really going to gain by saving on ad spend? Or are we really looking for that 10x multiplier and how that's reflected on the business in the coming months? And by continuing to run ads on those equity crowdfunding campaigns, a week later, they were starting to get higher conversions. 2 weeks after that, they were back at their return on ad spend metric for the month. 3 weeks after that, they were beyond what historical performance, historical benchmarks they had been planned for. March equity crowdfunding ended up shaping out to the top month for many platforms. April is even higher. May, June, it just keeps jumping. Investors are a premium audience. It's something I like to point out as an example, regardless of whether you're going after users, cryptocurrency traders, CBD buyers at the B2B or B2C level. These are relevant examples for those reasons. So, really can't emphasize enough that you have to manage it to a point of effectiveness. You want to look at these strategies. Good marketing is good problem solving. Please feel free to get in contact with us, get in contact with other experts, share your analytics, share what's occurring, test out new types of Facebook media buys, and really scale to your goals, really scale to your milestones. There is more opportunity now than ever before in the majority of industries we're touching. Facebook advertising is a top traffic channel. It can be leveraged by your brand, and these advanced ad tactics can be used. So apply them to your brand, get in contact with us. My name is Jason Fishman. You can reach me on LinkedIn. Don't be bashful. Feel free to get in contact with me directly and ask any questions. You can inquire through the site. We could set you up with an expert for whichever type of marketing you'd like to have more information on. We could get a copy of this deck to you or set up any type of discovery call. So please, if you've got to this point, feel free to leverage us as a resource. Make sure to tune in to our next webinar as well too. Check out the podcast series at Test, Optimize, Scale. Let's connect. Let's engage. Let's be friends. Let's do this. And again, I know the value that Facebook advertising has produced our clients. You look at 9 figures of funding, the majority of that is from Facebook advertising directly. So it's not a matter of whether Facebook ads will work for you. It's a matter of how to get them to work for you, and using these steps to shape those operating processes, those standard operating procedures to get them to that point. Thank you for tuning in today. It's been a pleasure walking through this passionate topic for me. And don't forget to test, optimize, and scale. Take care.